Alright, well, I wasn't expecting this to happen already. So I had one pachinko machine on the wall, and I have it in this little gambling nook here, which also has a slot machine. But because I am who I am, I got myself a second pachinko machine. I want to mount that on the wall right over here. To do that, I'm going to have to replace this beautiful single cabinet frame I had, and we're going to make a double cabinet frame. So now it's two machines on one frame in the wall. I'm going to take this one here down, which is already pretty much unscrewed, and we're going to head over to the makerspace to build another one. That'll do. Huh. Huh. That'll do better. Damn it! Huh? God damn it! Okay. Okay. Son of a... Alright, so next morning, both machines are now mounted in the cabinet. There was a lot of measuring and cutting and measuring and getting frustrated. Ultimately, what I had to do was I had to make these shims here because there's several things that happened. First off, machines are, like all their units are metric, and I built the frame to imperial units because, you know, inches, whatever. So several things happened. First off, this machine here is taller than this machine. But this machine, while shorter, is slightly wider. So this here has a single shim right up here. And this is just a piece of wood that I've ripped and then sanded till it fit. And that's a nice tight fit in there. There's no need for a shim down here. This machine here, it does have a shim just down here. And I have another shim at the top. Now this is just for uniformity's sake. I could have put both shims at the bottom here and then, yeah. But now you can see there's a shim there, it's a shim there. It looks a lot more passing. And then there's the middle piece right here. Like I said, this one here is wider than this one here. I'm actually off by about 5 millimeters on my conversions. My measurements were right, my math was wrong. Whatever. But that's all good and happy now. So hold on a second. I'm just going to go and manufacture or modify the existing piece of wood here, which is actually a scrap piece of wood. And I'm just going to, you know, take these screws out, slice it down a little bit shorter, put it back together. We should be good. Alright, and after a bit of kerfuffling, I've managed to get my center brace in here. Now, this is an interesting thing. This is also something you should not, or you should be taking for granted. Pachinko machines are not symbols of Japanese precision. By no means. These things are designed from wood to be quickly assembled, sent out, used for a limited amount of time, and then thrown away. As a result, you get all sorts of weird quirks, and it's, well, somewhat sloppy. I have verified that all of my framing is square. This is all square. And yet you'll find weird quirks like this gap here disappears by the time you get to the bottom. And again, that's the cabinet itself is not square. I squared it up on this side, putting it in there. This side's just not square. Plus also you have this weird hang on the door. The frame of the machine is squared in there, but the door, as you can see, a little bit tighter over here, a little bit looser over here, but it's a door and a hinge, that's fine. However, it's also another thing to point out, this machine's manufactured by Besta, this one here is manufactured by Sankyo. Different way of having hinges hanging on this thing. So in this one here, they've actually been nice and they've gone and cut little grooving in, and it's actually been countersunk into the frame so that it is an exact fit for both hinges. And there's no weirdness to it. With the Sankyo, different thing entirely. You can see the groove is, well, a little bit more half-assed. And more interestingly, you can see the hinge hangs out. So I actually had to go and I had to cut in a notch here so that it would fit. And the same thing goes with the bottom hinge too. I had to cut a notch there as well, just so everything would fit properly. That was a pain in the butt. This thinned up quite properly. Yeah, I'll fix that. Don't worry about that. Okay, I'm just gonna finish the, hammer this in, nail it in, or screw it in actually, and we should be good. Perfect. What you just saw me chisel out there and then put in with this thingamajig, this is a ball lifter. Now, for pachinko machines at home and for single machines, there is actually a device designed. Sits underneath here and just brings the balls back up and puts them back in the hopper. But I find they're extremely expensive. I don't fully understand why they're so expensive, but they are. The other problem is that if they're extremely expensive, I'd need 2 of them for this cabinet. Not gonna happen. So on Thingiverse, there's this neat pachinko ball lifter someone's designed, and really, there's a gear in here, and it's just designed to grab one ball at a time and push it up through this hole here, and then I can make a tube that goes to the top, and well, then I gotta figure out a way to get the hoppers to evenly load up. I'm not entirely sure how to do that, but it uses this 24 volt or 12 volt DC geared motor here, and it is reversible, so I can possibly fix jam issues. And that just sits there, and it's been dropped down like this because if you look, we're very close to where the outlet ports are on both machines. I just needed that extra ½ inch of space in order for me to get the incline I need to run down and have it collect in the same spot. And that is going to be my nightmare, and I'm already working on it slowly. These little pieces here are just ramps with sides on them, and the balls will finally drop down in here, and how they're all gonna merge together, it's just, oh my god, I'm not even gonna draw that thing out, it's just a nightmare. This may work, it may not work, but the point I'm trying to get to here is that this is more kind of an afterthought, but at the same time, you can't do this when everything's mounted to the wall. So I might as well get it over with now, and if I have to go back and fix it later, hopefully I don't have to pull the cabinet off the wall. ones. There is a lot of waiting involved in this. Alright, and now on to candles. Alright, so if you don't actually know what the name is for these, one of the many official names for these is candles, or lighthouses. Basically what you're looking at here is a light with two levels. This is a light, this is a light. And these are typically found on slot machines and pachinko machines and pretty much anything else that needs to have some sort of visual indication from a distance. And pachinko machines are fantastic when it comes to these things because one of these lights can indicate when a jackpot has been hit, so it kind of turns on and turns off. And another one can indicate when the hopper switch is empty. And most pachinko machines have those switches in there. So this one here tells if the hopper goes empty. And there's another switch that is hiding somewhere. Oh, there it is, hiding way the heck down in here. And that just says that the whole jackpot circuit has operated. Now, what I've done with these ones here is that I've actually rewired them with some new wire. And this pole assembly it's on, if you look on the back side, I've actually gone and cut a groove all the way down. Whoop, it flipped over on me. All the way down. And in the middle here, in this post, there's a hole drilled straight down the middle. Now, notice the two smaller holes and a little tiny bracket on the back there. I'm going to grab this with one hand, step onto this chair, and on top of the machine here, you'll notice, or the cabinet, sorry, 2 pins and a hole, and a tinier hole. The idea here is that I can now take this, and that'll line up, or I will try to make it line up with one hand. There we go. And that just goes down. And then you can screw it in place, and this is, well, not as likely to wobble. And all the wiring here then comes down into the unit, and now I can wire it up to all the switches. Yeah, I went into overtime again. Okay, so I have now gotten both of the bottom chutes assembled, and now it's quite simply I can just take any balls and they do slowly roll in, but there, the bottom chute is in, and I have now realized I have made a mistake. Somehow I have to achieve a quantum state because underneath that is the hole which sends the balls back up to the top. You know what, I'm just gonna call it good for the night. We're gonna call it good. We're done, okay? I'm going to bed. Don't think I forgot about that. So another thing I'm doing while I'm waiting for glue to set is doing other little trim additions, like these lights. These are fake brass painting lights. They were sold by IKEA. I highly doubt IKEA still makes anything similar to this, but if you notice, they are the exact same width of a pachinko machine. They are fantastic for lighting up one of these cabinets. And it goes out several inches, and it takes 2 of these chandelier bulbs. Now, I've tried to use regular incandescents in here because the LED flicker does actually show up when you're playing. But I keep on having just bulbs burning out from being shaken a little bit too much or running for just too long. So I end up getting these dollar store specials. Hurrah! Yes, they're $4, but they're just LED chandelier replacements. And these last, Well, I've only had one fail, so I'd say the other one's lasted me 4 years already. So that's a good little addition. But lighting is now done, and I'm just waiting for the last bits of the ball guides to finish. Alright, so after a considerable amount of work, we have finally gotten all the fine woodwork completed. So let me better explain now what the heck this portion of the video was all about. So when balls go through the Pachinko machine, they typically go to the bottom and they have to get collected somehow. So we have these little wooden ramps here. These are all nicely inclined both backwards and this way, and it collects down into this little box right here. This box here contains a single rotary gear and a switch, and once enough balls collect in here, the motor turns on. It will push the balls up, it'll divert it sideways, it'll go into this wooden channel that I've made right here, and it goes up to the very top here, and you can see it goes into here, and then you would be able to distribute it to the hopper over here, and to the hopper over here, and it'll continue to run until that switch says there's no more balls coming down into the machine. You may have noticed already, how is it going to know which hopper to go into? I haven't figured that out yet, but the idea is that you just simply take these two screws out and this whole assembly falls off. In fact, everything you see here, once this is secured to the wall by the frame, you don't have to worry about stuff getting stuck in here. Everything can be removed from the other side of the machine. And by the way, speaking of the other side of the machine, we have all that done. The fitment on all of this now is fantastic. There's no screws holding the machines in right now. They're just that nice of a fit. We have our lights, we have our two candles. We are now ready to bring this thing back from the makerspace and install it back into the house. When I first put the one Pachinko machine onto the wall here, I had these two brackets that were installed on the wall. This is actually real wood here. This is not just fake wood or drywall or anything behind it. I can get behind the wall, and as a result, I'm going through the grooves along here, which is technically the weakest point in the wood, but I can anchor it from the other side. The idea here is that if the cabinet and frame ever has to come down again, I'm not going straight into the wall here where it can be, well, unsightly and pretty much at eye level. Now, all I'm using here are just large steel brackets. You buy them at the Home Depot, wherever, just trim them to size and put them up. I am already happy with where the height is on these here because, well, we already had a machine here already, so all I had to do was just add two more brackets, and that way we could then hang it level. And the way I know it's level is to just use an actual level. So I can guarantee you that half there is level, and that's level as well. The idea here is that we want to make sure everything regarding the frame is level when we hang it to the wall. This is important. We're going to get back to this in a couple of moments. So now that the heavy steel brackets are in place, I can go and actually pick up the frame and we'll hang it onto the wall. Alright, so now we are hanging on the brackets, and we almost perfect there? Yeah. Alright, so we have a little bit of an adjustment there. We have... that seems about fair. We got over here. Looks good. And our middle one here, which is the test, and we're on the bubble there. So everything is nice and level, and this is very important with a Pachinko machine because any leaning to the left or to the right or even backwards and forwards can cause problems. So we're not going to leave it with just these four brackets that are up here. No, we're also going to add smaller brackets which are both going to help pull this into the wall, and it's going to let me further adjust any issues with level or tilt or anything on that here. So that's a pretty quick, easy job. There we go. Those are all nicely in place, and oh, look at that. This has now gone completely perfectly level. So we are now done with mounting this to the wall, and I'm pretty much ready to install the cabinets again after a tiny bit of wiring. And if you're wondering what the heck this is here, well, like many houses, we've been converted over to a high efficiency furnace. So the contractor left the 24-volt AC supply in the other room, and it's just kind of run through the wall here and comes with this knife switch. So the idea here is I have a physical disconnect for it, as well as a circuit breaker on the other side. I just need to run this through a bridge rectifier, and then I have a somewhat unregulated 24 volts DC, which I can then use for running stuff such as the motor or all of the low voltage lighting and the switches. Okay, I just kind of discovered a little bit of an error here. I think it's more because I'm out of space and not so much a design constraint. When I hung this shelf here, I actually have it, it goes up 1/4 of an inch. For some reason it drops down here. That's just enough that it interferes with the light a little bit, but I have just barely enough clearance on the door. But the light's not going to be too much of a problem. At the same time, however, because I put the candles here, I may have to take them out actually. Sure, I can get to these records here, no problem, but the ones in the back, the candle's in the way. Whoops. Okay, so I'm probably going to have to figure something out here off camera at another date. Oh, right. Now, one last thing before you start pounding this thing into the frame. Whatever latch mechanism you have in here, if you do not have the key, this is your last real chance to go and somehow defeat it so that it's always stuck in the unlatched position until you can get a key or a better way to fix the latch. Otherwise, you're going to slam this thing into the wall and it's going to be a complete pain in the butt to remove. So I've actually, in this case, taken a screw with the latch mechanism in its highest position, driven that screw in, so now when you close the door, it doesn't actually latch, but the friction fit of the machine in its wooden frame here is enough to hold it closed. And there we go. So, at this point here, my machines are all ready to be wired up and put into service. Maybe you have some other plans going on for yours. Maybe if you're just going to go the whole Ben Heck way, you're going to jazz both of these machines up and you're going to have lights and sounds and woo, it's going to be fantastic. It's up to you, really. I just wanted to show you how to make a double machine cabinet that fits on the wall, doesn't look too bad. It's got fantastic lighting, and it's even got candles up on top of the machine itself, and it looks great. I really hope you enjoyed this. I spent a couple of days building this all, and I'm quite satisfied with the results. And, well, in the meantime, before I finish the wiring, I'm going to get a couple of Pachinko games through. And until next time, have a good one.